What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 199, one away from that special 200. We are presented, as always, by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're talking all about that PS5 Pro and if Xbox should respond in kind. Game Pass Standard is here, and unfortunately, we have some more industry layoffs to talk about. But before we get to all that, gotta introduce my co-host, returning JamPackSam. How are you, my friend?
I am great, man. I'm ready for the great return. We had last week. I had to go take care of some business, but we are back in action. We're ready to rock, and yeah, happy to be here.
Yes. We had Nick from Friday Night Gamecast filling last week. Thank you, everyone that checked out that episode. Had a lot of fun. But I am glad you are back, especially when I'm looking at your what you've been playing section. You've been all over the place with
It
this. I
has
can't
been a variety, man. I definitely am excited to talk about the one that I don't think anyone else is talking about in 2024, but I'm going to keep the dream alive.
in the world. You're the only one talking
It's
about it.
true.
Yeah. Well, before we get to that, gotta get through some housekeeping. This is Project XTalk. We are live every Thursday right here on youtube.com/save the game media. If it can't catch us live, we post every Friday morning on your favorite audio podcast service of choice. While you're over there, make sure to drop us that 5-star review, whether that's Apple, Spotify, helps us in the algorithm. If you want to support us even further and get early audio access to Save the Game Media content and exclusive bonus content, head over to patreon.com/save the game media. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current Patreon supporters. So thank you to Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Lindsay, Nikolai at Night, Cypher, Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, David Hotright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Alpaca Tom, Lee Navarro, Silknet, Ellery Woods Parker III, Chad, and Shelby Macy. Oh, and Rick Davis. I gotta fix the document. I almost forgot you, Rick, but I didn't. And that's what matters. I didn't forget you. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. I got one more bit of housekeeping to get through before we jump into what we've been playing, and that is about Extra Life. We are a mere 2 months away, less than that now, from going to Rome, New York for our 25-hour live stream to raise money for sick children. It'll be the majority of Save the Game Media. As I say, the Sams can't make it this year, maybe one year, but everyone else, we will be there. We got Airbnb. We're gonna have couches. We're gonna be hanging out with some other content creator friends. It'll be a good time. We'll be giving away some prizes. So if you want to donate and get entered for those prizes, the link is in the description below. Now they got that out of the way, Sam. I gotta know, what have you been playing, my friend?
It has been a wild couple of weeks. Obviously, been in and out, doing a lot of different stuff in and out of the house as well. But Black Ops 6 beta, I know that that was a big deal last weekend and the weekend before that in particular. But I believe I hit near the max level. I know I hit 20. I think I was getting close to like 28, 29. So I put a pretty significant amount of time into that over the past couple of weekends. And it's a good time. It is the most fun I've had with a Call of Duty in a number of years. However, I say that during the beta of every year's Call of Duty because I feel like that's the most pure. No one knows how this game actually works. We're all kind of on the level playing field. And then you get to the point when someone's running around with a Nicki Minaj skin that's played like 3,000 hours of the game. And I can't keep up. So I'm enjoying it while it lasts. And as a Game Pass game, hopefully it has the same energy, I would assume.
I gotta ask, because I've seen some wild clips online of people taking others hostage, and then the voice chat kicks in,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're saying abhorrent things to each other.
They are. They are. So whenever I join a lobby, the first thing I do is I hit the left trigger and then I hit mute all because like I don't need that. You've got the dude that's got his microphone right next to the TV speaker like it's 2009. You've got that disaster of a situation with the proximity chat whenever they're doing the meat shield effect. But the clips that I've seen online invoke that glory days of COD feeling, whether you like them or not. It kind of feels like that trash talk is back in action with the proximity chat. So I'm not mad at it. However, I tend to bow out. I don't want any part of that.
Cheveruni in the chat says, thoughts on the diving stuff. The movement seems wild.
The movement is wild. I think that it's going to get more wild when people learn how to use it properly. I was doing a little bit of diving and maneuvering around, but a lot of people are still treating it like a standard run and gun kind of Call of Duty game. So I think it really comes down to how deep people get into the mechanic of the Omni movement. But it definitely has the potential to get crazy. Much like you've seen the clips of the meat shield stuff. I've seen people that are doing like somersaults in midair and just, shotgun blasting this dude in the cheek that just got off of a 9-hour work day and he's just trying to have some fun. Dude's just coming through doing parkour. It's wild, man.
Are you winning, son? Nah, man. No
Nah,
flips.
absolutely not. So I played a lot of that. And then I had a palate cleanser with Atlas Fallen, which I think I might bow out of. Now I know you played Atlas Fallen,
Mm-hmm.
and it is not that long of a game, but I feel like I'm like 3.5 hours in, and I've seen all that I need to see. Like from what I've seen in the XEP Discord, it just feels like it's very surface level. If you don't really jive with the combat, like it's not bad. I just don't feel compelled to continue. If that makes sense, I don't know.
So I know they redid, and everyone let me know. I just boosted my mic even more, so everyone let me know how the volume sounds now. I'm approaching max volume. I do have my window open. It's hot in New York, so maybe all the sound is going outside. But Atlas Fallen, I really liked this game, but I did play the entirety co-op, which I think makes it a
Mm,
much better experience. I would say that I like the skill trees. I really feel like you can customize your build well in this game. I wouldn't say like the story is completely forgettable. You can skip
yeah.
every cut. Like I know they redid the whole intro to the game and like the tutorial to try to improve it, but from the sounds of it, doesn't maybe they made it worse because if you're already jumping out, I thought this would be a game. I saw Luke, I think, also try to and bounce off. Like this seemed like a game that you guys would enjoy. So maybe they changed it a bit too much. Maybe just like worse games. Who knows?
I mean, it's not even that it's bad. It's not that it's not a game that I enjoy. It's just like, I think that because I've been busy over the past couple of weeks, I have like a stronger attention to how I'm spending my little gaming time,
Mhm.
And I feel like there are so many different games that are out there right now. Like I have Space Marine 2 coming tomorrow in the mail. So I'll be playing that this weekend. And in a world where I've got Space Marine 2 coming, and I have 2 hours a day, maybe like
Mhm.
if I'm lucky till I get some game time in, Atlas Fallen probably just falls down. So and I'm getting long-winded with what I've been playing, but
No,
now
no, keep
we're
it
getting
going.
into the meat of it. So after I kind of put a pause on Atlas Fallen, not saying I'm out, just saying I'm done right now. I went back to X Defiant because I'm like, I miss my Black Ops 6. I had a good time with the beta, so X Defiant was installed. The rest of the Call of Duty DLCs and all of the stuff that it takes to actually boot up that game was not installed, and I was like, I'm going to go with the one that I have. Really good time with this, man. I mean, X Defiant, it will die. It is going away. But I feel like I am where you were with Crash Team Rumble. You know what I mean? Where it's like
Yo,
you knew
it's
what was happening. You
no,
knew what was coming.
it's so funny. I saw your post about X Defiant, and now you're talking about it, and I was just gonna be, this is your Concord.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And people have said like enjoy it while it lasts. It's going away, and I'm like that's exactly what I'm doing. Like I know I'm fully aware, and I'm going to work on a video this weekend to talk about it because there's an interesting dynamic around. I want to support the game, but I don't want to spend $10 for a battle pass and spend hundreds of hours earning cosmetics in a game that's going away. Like there's a thought there. So I'm enjoying it right now. There's a double XP weekend coming up for Battle Pass and Weapon XP. I'm just gonna have a good time with it. If anybody's looking for a free to play shooter to fill the void between now and Black Ops 6, it's classic Call of Duty with like a light hero system kind of invested in it. So I would definitely recommend that one.
Listen, I know this might sound wild, but what if you just spend a bunch of money and then when it goes away, they might give you it back?
Oh, all the way. Yeah, I mean, fair point. I doubt they'll do that. I think
Mm.
that based on the Ubisoft stock price this week, they would gladly take anyone's money. But speaking of free to play games, the one that I have not spent the most time with, but that's been the most convenient over the past couple of weeks has been Elder Scrolls Blades, the
I
mobile game.
but why?
So obviously, we've been dealing with some family stuff. I've been out. I've had idle time, and so I downloaded Elder Scrolls Blades because I was like, I want a mobile game to play. I'm going to be idle for a lot of the day, and I didn't want like a Candy Crush or the Xbox mobile app, Match 3 game that they have in there, whatever that thing is.
5 points.
True, you can play it daily to get the bejeweled 5 point reward, but Elder Scrolls Blades, I was like, okay, cool. We'll give it a shot. In the world of Warcraft Rumble and Call of Duty Mobile, you have Elder Scrolls Blades. I was kind of in the mood for that, dude. This is a great time. Like, it is one of the best mobile games that I think I've ever spent time with. And by no means is it super in depth or super
Hmm.
complicated. There are basically, from what I've seen, three different types of dungeons that you have. One that's like a typical Elder Scrolls style dungeon, one that's this big open forest, and another one that has like a different look to it. But they all effectively have the same thing of go in, kill the thing, and get and finish the quest, and then go back and upgrade your town. And you can kind of like have a town management element to it. Um, but I didn't think I would spend as much time playing it as I did. I kind of still want to continue playing it, but they implement touch controls really well. It doesn't have a deep story that you have to get into, but there's like a narrative built in there as well. Just a really good time. So if you're looking for a mobile game to pass the time, it plays in both portrait and landscape mode, which I thought was really neat, and it works well for both. But yeah, having a good time with it.
Yeah, I'm glad you are. I've never heard any positive feedback regarding Elder Scroll Blade. For a minute there, I thought you were playing because aren't they putting out a new mobile game, Elder Scrolls
Castles.
something
Yeah, they have
Castles?
castles. Yeah, so that's like, I think it's from the team that made Fallout Shelter. They're
Mhm.
doing like an Elder Scrolls variant of that. I'm not big into like the management thing. That's not really me. That feels too involved. This is very much a you have 10 minutes, go do two quests and finish a daily kind of game. And I'm very much so into the just dip a toe in, get back out kind of mobile experience.
Mhm. Is it monetized? Like, do you have to pay at
I
all
mean, you
or
have things you can buy, but I don't feel compelled to like spend
great,
any kind of like
even
I don't feel
better.
limited. Yeah, I don't feel limited by what they give me out of the gate. And if you're just looking for a quest, like the hack and slash kind of, it's like you have what do you call it? Like a chain combo system, but it's like you hold down the right side of the screen to a time like of a circle expanding, and you have like a perfect hit, and so then you do that with your left and right thumb, and so it just goes back and forth, and you just take out goblins and stuff, and you've got like power ups, healing potions, all that good stuff. It has the DNA of a good Elder Scrolls game.
Mhm.
Like it really feels like a good mobile modification. So I'm really impressed with it. I wish I would have been playing it earlier. Honestly, it's very fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out Clint. There's too much talent on the screen right now. You're too kind, my friend. You're
Ooh,
too kind.
ooh,
I was on I don't know if I shouted this out last week, but I was on Spreading the Nerd, Clint's podcast with Rick. We talked about a
very
bunch of
cool.
JRPGs. So if you're a weeb, head on over and check that episode out.
Y'all have fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, but before you do what what you're playing, I did want to say that I have a package that was
What's in a
sent to me.
box?
I have a box that was sent to me, and this is not an ad. I was not paid to say this, but I do want to show off the thing that I was sent. Trolley sent me a box of Xbox collab gummy worms and sour gummy worms. So we have the World of Warcraft, the Elder Scrolls Online, the Sea of Thieves, and the Diablo 4. So you've got a giant bag of gummy worms, and there's also some Vessel of Hatred content you can get. I don't know if it's in
Yep,
focus or
I
not.
can see it. I can see it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you can get some in-game rewards there. But they hit me up and they're like, "Hey, do you like gummy worms?" And I was like, "Yes." And so they sent me a box of gummy worms. So shout out to the trolley guys. It's very nice.
Listen, if you want to make a review for that, I could. I don't know if you're familiar with the Snack Network, my friend Dave Moore over there.
Oh, well, I have a hunch that they're going to taste like gummy worms. So
Yeah,
I
but
want, yeah,
you need to know. You need
yeah,
to
you
know if
you
each
really
of
do
them are
need to know.
different.
Yeah, I might go all out, and I'll go to Walmart and get one of the Pac-Man G Fuels, and we're just gonna get really cavity ridden and really just go all in on the gamer lifestyle.
Grab the Coca-Cola Oreos while you're
I've heard
there.
good things. I've heard really good
No, there's
things.
no way. That sounds horrible.
I'm just saying. I saw a guy on TikTok eating them, so and he said they were good. So that must be true. It's got to be true.
Everything's on TikTok. It's true.
Yeah,
Everything.
absolutely. But what have you been playing? It's been a couple of weeks since we've chatted.
Yeah, I have been playing a lot of games. So last week I talked about, it was the day before Astrobot release. I was looking forward to that. And then when I got it, I was like, I think I want to finish my other game first. So I
Understandable.
I haven't platinumed Astrobot. I know everyone's posting their pictures like I beat it, I platinum now, I did this. I am maybe three-fourths done with it. I'm going to get the platinum. It's a very easy platinum. I'm basically there. I just got to finish the game and collect all the bots. This game starts off a little slow for me. And I felt like I was the problem because everyone was telling me that it was the, greatest platformer in the last decade, better than all the Mario games, which to be honest, I'm not like a super Mario guy. But I wasn't really feeling what they were feeling from like the first few levels. I was like, is this just like overblown? And then the more you get into it, I'm like, no, there's like super creative levels here, levels that are so fun. And then when you start getting more and more of those special like appearance bots, the cameos, man, it's just so heartwarming because they have some deep cuts in here. And I'm not gonna spoil any of them, but like you have your normal ones that are like in the marketing, like Crash Bandicoot's in there. And I loved seeing Crash as a bot. He's very cute. Like, but there are just other ones where some of them, I'm like, I don't even know who you are. I wish there was a
Interesting.
glossary for me to be like, what is this character? Because when you get them, it doesn't tell you the name. It gives you a vague description,
Yeah.
like warrior of the streets or something. And I was like, okay, I can figure that one out. Like I can tell who that looks like. But other people, I'm just like, who are you? How did you make it in this game? Maybe other PlayStation fans can figure it out, but yeah, I don't. I'm loving it, but I don't feel the 10 out of 10 best decade platformer
Yeah, I know that I got flack on threads for saying that I don't understand the Astrobot
from
hype.
me.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, again, yes. But that blew up into a big thing, and it's like looking at the gameplay. Like, I get it. I understand why people are interested in this. I do think that, like, you know, there is a drought of PlayStation content this year in a way that we haven't seen in this generation since. But I think that coupled with this being a legitimately good game, like I
Mhm.
think that it's a well-made game, and I think that in an era of so many games that are nickel and diming or trying different ways to monetize and stuff like that, like a good game that's just a good platformer that feels authentic to what it wants to be and that has that nod towards PlayStation nostalgia thrown in there. I think that all of those things in this current situation are really resonating well with people. So it might not be a thing that I ever play again. Like I'm sure that I would enjoy it. I saw Kojima tweeted out the Death Stranding bot that's in the game as well.
Mm.
Love that kind of thing.
I probably wouldn't
So
even know it was him.
yeah, totally fair. But yeah, I like what I'm seeing from it. I don't know if it's the game of the year thing, but hey, haven't played it. Probably won't play it. I'm not going to comment on that. But I do now see why people are interested. I get it.
Yeah, I'm roughly I think 6 to 7 hours closing in on the platinum, so I'll probably have it in the next 2-ish hours or so. It's not a very difficult game. Even the challenge levels, I think there's only one that's given me a hard time so far, and it's just because like I didn't understand how to wall jump. That mechanic hadn't been explained to me in any of the
Mm,
previous levels. And I will say, the underwater level sucks. Hate it. Horrible. Felt
that's what I've
terrible to
heard.
move in. Yeah, the
I was,
worst level in the game.
I was watching the trophy room last night and they were saying the water level was really, really bad. And I was like, oh, well, most water levels are. So the question for you, is it worth $60?
For me,
That's
yes.
okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting my money's worth, especially because it does like encourage you to go for the platinum, so you really get your money's worth. For me, like $60 for me, if I get 10 hours out of it, I think that's a good investment. But I know other people will feel differently because they think, oh, $60, I should get at least 20 hours or something.
Yeah, and I haven't seen like a lot of people complaining online or anything. It seems like my feed is just filled with people that are loving it. But again, to your point of like, people hurting for money sometimes, I was just curious if the value proposition was there, but glad it is. Very nice.
Oh, we'll talk about people hurting for money soon, let me tell you. But don't make underwater levels anymore, all right? 3D platformers, we don't need them, all right? We've had them for 20 years now. Let's move on. The game that kept me from playing Astrobot, though, Sam, was Visions of Mana. I talked about this last week. I was really enjoying it. I was like, combat is great. It's a fantastic action JRPG. The story was pretty good at the time I was playing it. And then I felt about halfway through the game, it became very familiar, is how I will describe it. And by that, I mean, it basically was like, how can we be every other JRPG now? Because they just went very hard into trope territory. They were like, we could have told a really interesting story. We're gonna give up and go to the classic
Mm.
story here, where you thought that was the bad guy. Nah, there's a secret bad guy pulling he's behind everything, and now we're gonna have a big happy ending. Where the whole premise of the game was like you have to sacrifice. your friends' souls to the tree to save the world. Like is a cycle every 4 years or so. You got to go round up some villagers, give them to the tree, and then the world gets to continue. And if you don't, the world will end. I thought that was really interesting. I'm like, oh, how are we going to get out of this? And then it just turned out like, oh, we didn't really need to do that at all. And the spoilers, I guess, for Vision of Mana, but like if you couldn't tell that, like it's not great. It goes very very tropey and very not what I wanted out of this.
Unfortunate. Yeah. Every time I've gotten on Discord, I feel like I've looked and you've been playing Visions of Mana. So I knew you were putting some time into it, but it's one of those ones that's like, uh, obviously coming from me, Sea of Stars would be played before Visions of Mana. I doubt that I'll either get to either of them ever just because of my interest in games and how many different games are coming out. But I hope the best for the team. I mean, it seems like it's like good. I get, it seems like is it a good game? Would you call it
Oh
a good
yeah, no,
game?
it's like a yeah, it's like a 8. I'd say it's an 8 out of 10. Like it's visually stunning, combat's fantastic, the class system, like the systems in the game are really good. It's just the story let me down at the end there. And speaking of the team, NetEase already shut them down the day of their launch. So
Did they officially shut them down or was it
I
like a
I
concern?
believe so. I believe so. As far as I know, that they kept some people on just to like finish up some work at the studio, but I'm almost certain the studio is gone.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, them and Annapurna. I don't know if we're going to talk about that
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah.
That
I
was
just
wild
added that.
stuff.
I just added that to the document. But last game I want to talk about before we get into the news is the casting of Frank Stone. So
Lay this one
this
on me.
Yeah, so I know Luke and some of the people in the XCP Discord have been playing Dead by Daylight. This is a Dead by Daylight spin-off, if you want to call it that. This so Behavior worked with Supermassive to make one of those Supermassive style narrative games where you play as characters, make choices, decide who lives and dies. I am, I believe, 3 hours in, and it's not a very long game. I think How Long to Beat has it around 5-ish hours. So like we're probably halfway, if not more. We're
Hmm.
taking our time looking for stuff, but we're making some progress. And so far, not much has happened. I'm gonna be honest. This is a very like starts off real strong. First chapter, great, spooky vibes, stuff's going on, like real creep. And then after that, I feel like I'm playing Life is Strange. I don't really know what's going on.
Interesting.
You get put into the role of like teenagers. You travel through different time periods, like it jumps, like flash forward, flashbacks, and I just can't say like nothing interesting has really happened so far. I'm playing it with my girlfriend as we always do. She's liking it. She's invested in the story. Um, I think the graphics it looks really good. They clearly upped the engine as I know they're doing for their next game, Directive 8 something whatever that space one. But I need more horror. Like they need to nail the last half of this game like and fast because it's feeling like a little slow, dragging a bit here.
Yeah, I was looking at gameplay and maybe I saw something that it might have even been Dead by Daylight that I was just casually seeing on my feed. But this is one that I had my eye on. Also, shout out to the Game Informer team. This was their last cover story that had popped
Mm.
up before they were shut down unceremoniously by GameStop and then locked out of their Twitter account. But it's one that'll eventually get on my playlist because I'm interested in it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know you're playing co-op. You can also play single player, right? Like it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
So
just
yeah.
like every super massive game, you can either play alone or you can they call it play with friends, where you just like switch to the controller. So
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it'll be one that I get around to, but and I hate to be falling into the Xbox stereotype here, but it really feels like a Game Pass game for me, where it's like it'll eventually pop up, maybe Halloween next year, and I'll be like, oh, cool, I'll finally get around to playing that. So that's where I'm at with it. But I'm excited to hear your thoughts on if it turns around. Obviously, we won't be spoiling anything, but I like to see them try new stuff. I think is really what it comes down to for me, because they could keep going with the Dead by Daylight, which they are, but seeing them experiment with a new kind of delivery that's more story focused is nice.
it does feel like they wanted this to be a kind of like they're Easter eggs if you've played Dead by Daylight. Like you can walk around, pick up dolls that are the killers from Dead by Daylight. There's like 14 of them or whatever.
That's cool.
There's little trinkets. A lot of the stuff that happens, like you see those. I don't know if you ever played Dead by Daylight, but like those hooks that come and like get the
Yeah.
survivors when they die, like those are prominently in the game. You see those, so like they really put it in the world. I just for right now can't tell why they did that, because it doesn't feel like it's benefiting them in any way for doing that.
So it's really just like an homage to the OG is kind of the way that it feels.
Kind of. And I see Clint here. Sad to hear, was hoping more horror, not as much as Until Dawn, I take it. No, not so. Right now, not nearly as much horror as Until Dawn. Like, that game, I really like a lot. And I know this is a remake. I'm not gonna play the remake. I've already played it twice. I'm good on Until Dawn, but this game is very much like you're in the daylight for a few chapters, and like just kind of, oh, let's go to the drugstore, let's do this, and I'm like, am I playing a horror game or am I playing a life sim? I can't tell what's going on.
Yeah, the more you talk about the life sim side, the less I like. I feel like if I'm going into this game, I want something that's very horror focused. So we'll see. But yeah, let me know how it pans out for you. I know you'll have a wrap by next week, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's not that long. It's the real thing is, like, I gotta get my girlfriend to play, and sometimes she's just like,
Mm,
I don't feel like playing. I'm like, all right, well, it's gonna sit there until we finish it.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I've been playing. I will be away this weekend, but when I get back, I will platinum Masterbot and then hopefully beat the casting of Frank Stone. And the Plucky Squire comes out next week.
Ooh, you playing on PlayStation or are you buying Xbox?
No, it's on PS Plus.
Yeah,
Just gotta save some money.
I get it.
That's
I don't
all I'm
blame you.
saying. All right. Well, let's jump into the news this week. It's been pretty light for Xbox, but we have some news to talk about. Ooh, that is not the right scrolling. I will fix that after I read the story. So, story number one: should Xbox do a pro console? On Tuesday, PlayStation revealed the worst kept industry secret, the PS5 Pro, promising better GPU performance, more games running at 4K 60, enhancements for older games, AI resolution upscaling, and better ray tracing. It is also coming at a steep price. The PS5 Pro will be $700 USD before tax, and that is without including the additional disk drive or vertical stand, which can easily see the cost rise to over $800. Well, why are we talking about this? That's because Xbox has made it very clear this generation they aren't doing a pro model, but is this the best option for the brand and consumers? Pierce Harding Rolls, games industry analyst over at Ampere, said that the PS5 Pro pricing, quote, reflects a lack of direct competition in its mid-cycle upgrade compared to last generation. Sam Heaney writes in, he says, with the PS5 Pro announcement not going down well with the majority of social media, do you expect Microsoft to try and capitalize and market their cheaper options this holiday? Do they even go further and announce the handheld? Do they do nothing? Sam, we will answer that question. But first, I got to know, how do you feel about the PSI Pro?
I mean, I kind of shared some thoughts on Threads and in a YouTube video. The thing is expensive. Like, what is happening with? I mean, I saw a lot of people saying, "Read the room." You know, like people are struggling right now financially a lot of the time, and to come out and say, "Hey, by the way, $700, no disk drive. You can't stand this thing vertically. Have fun with it," just feels very, very overpriced. Now, in the same breath, I saw people that were talking about the fact that this is hypothetically able to achieve much more than a PC of the same spec would without having to go out and buy all of the additional components and do the build and whatnot. So it's a device that's targeting the audience that it knows that it's there for, I guess is the way that I would put it. Like, this is a pro type of PlayStation for the more hardcore person that wants the highest possible frame rates and all of the good looking stuff. I'm very interested in seeing what their enhanced games look like. I know there's like this enhancement kind of like FPS boost coming to their side, where not every game will be 60, but there's going to be enhancements that are added depending on what the game supports for like 8,500 PS4 games. So I think if anything, that's, if I was a PlayStation person, what I would look to say, okay, this could be good for not only playing this giant backlog, but also playing the newest games in the best possible way. So I'll be interested to see how they leverage it. But like a lot of other people have said, there's nothing wrong with the PlayStation 5 in the same way that, like, if you have an Xbox Series S and you're not bothered by potentially lower frame rates or lower resolution, you don't really need an X because you play the same stuff. The big takeaway that I had is, like, it's kind of wild that outside of PlayStation exclusives, if you have a third party game you want to play and you just want to spend some money to be able to play it, you have the $700 PlayStation 5 Pro, or you can wait till Black Friday and get an Xbox Series S for like $150 and probably still be able to play it. Like
Yeah.
that's a really big value proposition. Not to get ahead to Sam Heaney's question, but it's a very, very big difference.
Yeah, no, and I think you touch on something really important there, which Microsoft will need to capitalize on that to really, promote their hardware this year. Whether they care about that or not is another question. We haven't seen them really capitalize. Like we know the Series S is the highest seller out of the two. So if they really do want to go that route, I think that'd be a good one to take because I know, and I care about power, but I know a lot of people out there do, but a lot of people don't. Like you see the Switch, and it's going to be the best selling console of all time, right? And the Switch is severely underpowered.
Mm-hmm.
It has that handheld portability factor, which maybe that's why people are drawn to it. But clearly, people are okay with lower resolutions, lower frame rates if it is cheaper, more convenient, and fits into like their lifestyle. And I really think that is what Xbox needs to try to push and maybe get away from this. We're competing with the PS5 Pro that I see narrative developing, where it's like, oh, well, why would you get a Series X now? Like, just get a Series or get a PS5 Pro. And I'm like, it's not, I don't really think it's that simple. Like $700 is a very steep ask, especially in this economy, especially with inflation through the roof. Like people don't have that much disposable income. And I see, well, I'm going to trade in my PS5 to GameStop, right? And they're giving you like 300, 400,
410, I think, right now.
410, 4. Okay. So it went up a little bit, but will that deal still be there in 2 months? Like if you want to trade it in now and then be without your PS5 for 2 months, go for it. But if you go, oh, it's coming out in 2 months, I'm going to trade it in the week before, how much they giving you? Are they going to give you store credit and then bundle a pro so you have to spend more money? Because that's what they do with the PS5s and Xbox, right? Like they weren't selling those things separately. You had to buy a bundle from GameStop.
Yeah, I think that for me, it comes back to the fact that I said I was playing the Black Ops 6 beta. I played a lot on my Series X, but I also booted it up a lot on my Series S just to see what it would be like and how it would play. And it runs very well. And then I'm thinking about Madden. I'm thinking about College Football 25. Like for the mainstream people that are out there buying these consoles that aren't interested in building a PC and that aren't interested in the high end specs that just want to play games, the Series S is still getting the job done. And I mean, that even comes down to stuff like if you want to go as far as Baldur's Gate 3 or Space
Mhm.
Marine 2, like these games are playable. Um, and for a lot of people that are going to college or that just want a game on a budget, they want a machine to have at their computer desk after they get done working from home or whatever it might be. That machine still gets it done. So I think that's kind of the interesting point at which they find themselves. But I do want to turn to Sam Heaney's question: will Microsoft capitalize on the potential opportunity to sell a console, or will they do nothing? And they will inevitably do nothing. They will
Mhm.
leave this on the table. They will not take advantage of it because 2 weeks ago we just had a whole ad about not needing an Xbox. So now what are we going to do? Be like, oh, hey, by the way, $400 for the Series X. Can't play these games anywhere else, can you? Actually, last week you told me you could play them in your browser. So
Mhm.
don't need one of those.
Or on my Fire Stick for $60.
Yeah, they have now backed themselves into a corner where you've got to pick a lane. You've got to pick what you want to like focus on. Do you want to sell consoles? Do you want to do cloud? And maybe that's partly the gaming community's fault for looking at it in that way because Microsoft's narrative hasn't changed. Now just the playing field has changed. So I don't think they're going to adjust their strategy. I think it's still going to be you don't need this because they're still barreling towards the next generation that will inevitably have, I would assume, one or two SKUs, maybe a handheld thrown in there, but a bigger focus on the PC side, the multi-plat side. So, no, I think they're leaving this on the table and not taking advantage of what would have last generation been a potential killer opportunity. Would have been a really big comeback point for them.
I think about last generation when the Pro gets announced, and we know the PS4 Pro was about 15 million out of the 150, right? So not a large portion of PS4s, but like a all right return. They're predicting 13 million for the PS5 Pro. And I think that's a big ask at $700. We'll see how if they can hit that. But if you're thinking, well, the PS5 is going to sell over 100 and 13 million of that will be the Pro, I really question, like, is it worth doing the Pro? They clearly see value in it, but when I look at Xbox, I don't see how they could justify a Pro version, right? Because I don't even know if we've hit 30 million total for Series X and S. I think last I heard was 26-ish. So if you're thinking maybe around 30 total right now in this generation. If we get to 40, that'd be a milestone at the rate we're going. I don't see where a pro changes the narrative. I don't see them saying, "Hey, we're giving you a more powerful Series X. We know you didn't buy the first time, but maybe you'll buy this one. It costs more." I don't see where that makes sense for Xbox. So for me, like, to answer my own question, should they do a pro console? I've always been on the favor of no, and this kind of reinforces the fact that I don't think Xbox should do a pro model.
No, I don't think they do. And even beyond that, thinking about the development issues that we've heard about from developers this generation, imagine Microsoft going to their next developer conference or whatever they have, and they say, hey, we have good news. Now you have to develop for the difficult SKU of the Series S, the Series X, and the Series X Pro. Have fun, good luck, and Godspeed. They don't want to do that. The developers don't want to do that. The more SKUs you've got to deal with, the more difficult the development then becomes. So I'm told, so I hear online.
Hmm.
So now I think the PS5 Pro already doesn't automatically give you upgrades. Like developers have to tap into that potential and build additional modes and leverage that, which should be easier because PlayStation development seems to be easier this generation compared to Xbox's architecture. That's kind of what we're hearing. I think that is a reason in and of itself to not add additional difficulty because they're already struggling with developers in terms of development and communication. Clearly, from what we saw last week with the game that was flaming Xbox openly on social media, that then got Phil Spencer to give them a help.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do not think there's a need for a pro at any point right now during this generation. And technology right now is evolving at such a speed where there's going to be another generational leap in like 3 years. I mean, thinking back to just a couple of years ago, where whenever the 3080 landed and ray tracing was really getting involved with the 20 series or the 2000 series for RTX cards, think about how far we've come with like that technology and AI and stuff. I mean, in 3 to 4 years, it's going to be a totally different playing field. So this
Hmm.
is very much so a console that doesn't really need to exist other than just to keep PlayStation on the cusp of like new technology, I guess is kind of where I see this landing. That's kind of where I see it.
Yeah, obviously, if you're listening to this and you're like, "I'm getting the PS5 Pro," great. It's your money, completely. You
Totally.
can
Yeah.
do whatever you want with it. Personally, it's not for me. It's not for a lot of the people out there. I think even as enthusiasts, like, I would classify us as like the hardcore gaming market, but if it doesn't appeal to us, I really struggle to see like it having mass appeal. Maybe if you don't have a PlayStation, you're still on the PS4 and you're like, well, I might as well just grab this. But shout out to that car driving by. Um,
I didn't hear it, but
oh, great, great. Wow, the noise cancellation is so good. I like what you brought up about how the PS5 won't automatically upgrade games. The developers do need to opt into that. We saw that with FPS boost on the Xbox, but I have seen people be like, "Oh, 8500 PS4 games are suddenly going to play better." Well, not quite. Like they still gotta the developers gotta do some stuff to make that happen. You're not just gonna put something in and Bloodborne's gonna run at 120 FPS. I do want to point out, like, this doesn't guarantee 4K 60 on every game. I've also seen that narrative going around. Like, you will still get 30 FPS. You still will get games that can't hit 4K 60. This is just a more powerful console. And sometimes I do wonder if people out there really understand the technology, because when they hear 4K 60 ray tracing, they think all at once. And I have to be the bearer of bad news when I'm like, high-end PCs that cost thousands of dollars struggle with 4K 60 plus
oh yeah.
FPS full ray tracing. And like, those are not things you get for $700. My PC costs more than $700 and I have a mid-tier PC at best, right? So like, for a console, this sounds great, especially if this PSSR works as well as it does. Fantastic. I'm really interested to see what Xbox's response is, whether that is in 2 years as rumored, with it starting in 2026 or later, because like they got to have some AI upscaling, right? Like they got to be implementing their own thing. They got to be leveraging the power of the cloud that we've heard about, some sort of hybrid thing to make processing faster. Like I want to see that. And the one mistake that PlayStation made this right with this reveal, get it to press, get it to Digital Foundry ahead of time. Like have videos ready to go. Don't make me watch a video on YouTube and be like, see the difference as clear as day. I was like, these look exactly the same to me. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes, me on the train in 360p on YouTube is really making these games pop. Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. I think that there's a couple of different things there. Number one, PSSR. Did the marketing team really say, you know what, our pisser technology is just going to crush the competition? You know, what are we doing with this, man? So that was the first thing. Beyond that, you were talking about the PS4 games, the 8500 PS4 games, and then this was revealed with Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man, and like games that we've already seen. People have played them. Like the hardcore audience that's probably looking at a PlayStation 5 Pro has played all of these games. Many have platinumed them all. So to be able to rely on that, and the same thing can be said for Xbox when you're talking about Fallout and the backwards compatibility stuff. Like it's more of a cherry on top than it is really a selling point for some people. But the lack of games right now in Sony's pipeline that we know about needs to be addressed, which I believe there's a state of play coming allegedly here in a couple of
Which
weeks.
apparently won't have first party titles, is the rumor as it stands.
So we need to see what PlayStation has in their pipeline, whether it's at the next state of play or early next year, to be able to justify somebody going out and buying this if they really want to be able to compete. But beyond that, the thing that I do love about this is that it's getting people talking about the potential for next generation technology in a way that I don't think we've really thought about it before, because it has always been better GPU, better processing, faster, whatever. You know, you've got your gigawatts and all that terminology that's being thrown around. But I love to talk about AI. I love to talk about cloud technology, streaming, textures and stuff like that. Even if it's not perfect right now, it wasn't even existing 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So the fact that we're talking about this if we're talking about it, it means people way smarter than us are talking about it, to the point that it's actually going to be an impactful change. So it makes me more excited for the future, because this is happening now and we're starting these conversations about what future technology could really actually bring.
No, that's a fantastic point. And I'm excited to see what happens in the future. Like, because right now, when I look at the thinking about getting a new console, it's the Switch 2. Like that is what I am next in line. Like that's what I'm going to get. Anything else that comes out, I'm good. I have my Xbox, I have my PlayStation. I'm playing, like I said, I'm playing Astrobot. The game is beautiful. I could not imagine video games looking more crisp and like, I know it's not a realistic game, but I don't care about that. Like I play a lot of JRPGs. You think I'm looking for realism? You think I'm looking for 8K, like seeing pores on people's faces? Like I don't care about that. I'm much more, give me better frames. I will always choose performance, which apparently most people do. I was surprised to learn that. I had always heard that fidelity mode was the preferred option, but y'all out there not being savages. You're choosing frame rates. Good on you. Good on you. That's how we get. That's how we get better performance. There was something else I was gonna say. Oh, lack of games is the last thing I want to touch on. We saw what happened when the Series X didn't have a launch title, right? What their launch title, they're like, hey, you can play Yakuza. I'm like, great, that's good for me. But like, you got nothing. Sega's carrying your launch right now. You got Assassin's Creed. Oh, so is everyone else. The lack of first party killer apps at a launch of a new system does hurt.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt. And I saw some people talking like, did they think Concord was going to be the one to sell this thing?
Concord remastered. I'll buy it right now.
It's time, man. You know what they really need right now? Fair games. Drop it, shadow launch it, get it out.
It's just a beta, alpha gameplay. All right. Well, I think that's all on the PS5 Pro. Obviously, Xbox I would say keep doing what you're doing, but don't do something different. Just not a mid-gen console.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, story number 2, and I never fixed the scrolly at the bottom, so we're just rolling with it this episode.
Yeah.
Game Pass Standard tier is here. So, Game Pass Standard announced in July with the price increase has finally arrived. Replacing Game Pass Console, the new tier includes online functionality and the Game Pass catalog minus day one games. Prior to launch, we weren't sure if this just meant first party, but we have our answer. No day one games from first or third party will be included in this tier. Users at the standard tier pointed this out when booting up the catalog, and no day one games from this year were there, including titles like Flintlock, Dungeons of Hinterberg, Starfield, or Hellblade 2, to name a few. Ghostly Guides writes in, says, so despite everyone thinking it would only be those games going forward, those on standard Game Pass have had all day one games that previously had access to removed retroactively. Should Xbox have done a better job communicating this? And isn't this just another slap in the face to Game Pass users that have supported you since day one?
Clarify something for me though. If you had console, you still have console, right? It's
If
just
you
not.
yes, if you
Yeah.
were grandfathered in, but if you want online, then you got to go to the standard tier now.
So but can't you just get core? It doesn't core also include online, so it's a little bit cheaper.
D- It does. Well, I don't know if it would be cheaper because that'd be 10 and 10, yeah.
I have no. I'm Ultimate, man. I don't know. I have no idea. I should know this. I'm on an Xbox podcast, but the point that I'm making is that it feels like something is getting taken away. And I'm not defending this, saying this is right. This is a shitty tier of Game Pass. There's no getting around it. However, it's a different tier of Game Pass. You're still grandfathered into console if you've got it. So like technically you're not really losing anything. However, it is a name change for a tier that existed before that now has less things included. So in that skew, yeah, it's a negative change. And I think that it's never been more clear, just like it was never more clear last month whenever this stuff was announced, or in July when it was announced. They do not want you on these tiers. They do not want you on core. They do not want you on standard. They will take your money if you want to be on standard. They will totally accept that direct deposit any day of the week, but they want you on ultimate. And they really want you on PC as well. I've been getting tons of ads for Game Pass for PC on Facebook over the past couple of months. Like they're really, really pushing to get people on PC as well. So those are the focus. This, I think, is more so streamlining stuff, making it even more of a value proposition to have ultimate. And I use for listeners proposition in air quotes because it's not really a value proposition. But it's more so giving you an offer you can't refuse. I mean, whenever you're looking at spending that much money on standard, if you're invested in these new games, and like those are some big day one drops we've had this year for the smaller games that come to the service to kind of make Game Pass what it is, it's a no-brainer. Like you might as well get ultimate. So I think this is a really bad tier of Game Pass that no one will really want, but that will make ultimate look more appealing whenever somebody's getting in for the first time and they're like, well, I guess I'm going for that one.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to remove games that had already been put into the service. I assumed like, okay, after February or September, I just made up a month. September 12th.
Good old
Uh
February.
yeah, February after
Warm
September
and
12th.
cold.
Oh man, so warm, so warm. After September 12th, I thought there would be no new day one first party games. I really thought third party would still be included because for me, that is what would keep people subscribed to your game catalog. If it's just the back catalog of games where you have your older first party titles, fine. But a lot of third party titles are only those 12-month deals, right? Like we see them expire, leave Game Pass after a
Mm-hmm.
year. And we know that with the standard tier, day one games may come 6, 12 months, maybe not at all to the tier. So this really does feel to me like, hey, if you're at this tier and then say we get a third party game day one in a year, does it even come? Do you even get the chance to play it before it leaves Game Pass altogether? It really does feel like it's just a bad tier. Is flat out the only way to say it. If you're gonna be on Game Pass, like Ultimate is basically or PC if you have PC, because PC just man with the PS5 Pro, like this just gets new GPUs. You know what I'm saying? Like who needs that
The
$700
the
now?
PS the PC Game Pass is the equivalent of Game Pass regular in 2016. Like it is what
Hmm.
we signed up for. It's what we wanted to begin with. It's what we had for so many years, and it's still there, but just for PC people because they need more people in the door.
Yeah, it's so this tier is not good. I don't think I can't see any value for me in this because as I've said, day one games are the big draw, but the first party and third party. Because looking at the list of games that was removed, there were some good third party
Yeah.
and smaller AA indie titles put into the service this year that now people won't have access to if they just go to the standard tier. So really is obviously just they want you in ultimate. That's their play. Um, just sucks if people dropped it thinking they were going to save some money and just play third party or wait for first party and then they lose those titles.
Yeah, it's a big bummer. And I think that even from like a brand perspective, it's even more unfortunate because now Game Pass is just as convoluted as PlayStation Plus. Because whenever PlayStation Plus did their revamp, everybody was like, gosh, Game Pass does it so well. It just has these couple of different options and you know exactly what you're getting. Now I'm on an Xbox podcast and I have no idea what they're doing. Like I don't know if it comes with these games or not. We'll learn it. I'll get accustomed to it, but it's like not inherently understandable. And that's a problem for people that are trying to get in the door whenever they're like, you know what? I'm just going to buy Black Ops. I'm good. Like I don't need all this.
You're not the only one though, like because Luke asked about, he's like, "What's going on?" And then I had the same conversation with Sean Capri. He was like, "Another tier." I'm like, "No, this is the tier they announced back in July. It's getting rid of that other tier, and then it's this new one with online. It's basically the old one." It is annoying. Like other Xbox podcasters can't keep this straight as well.
And I mean, if we can't keep it straight, and this is like the hardcore community of people that are actively tuned into this stuff, if somebody else comes along and they're like, what's happening? I need to get what to play these games? I just want to play Starfield. Which one has Starfield? Like, these aren't questions that we should have to ask. But I think it's clear now more than ever. Microsoft is trying to make the math work. Like they are really figuring out where to cut cost and maximize profits with the subscriptions. And Call of Duty is apparently a big gamble to like try to get people in the door. It's the last ditch effort to really boost Game Pass subscribers. So they are pushing to make it work. And I think that it's just kind of cannibalizing the sense they made of Game Pass in the process.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I saw I was having a conversation with some people about this and they were like, well, third party costs more to put in the service, right? Because they got to pay the developers. I'm like, well, they just have to eat the entirety of first party though. Like you
Yeah.
spend 100, $200 million making a game and then you don't sell it. So I think first party ultimately ends up costing you more, but the hope is you get subscribers from that. And third party is like, hey, we'll give you, I think we had the leaked documents. They were like 34 million for some games or whatever, but like, whether that draws subscribers, who knows? But I don't think ultimately that costs nearly as much as first party.
Yeah, no, it'll be a very interesting thing to follow between now and the end of this generation to see how they continue to focus on Game Pass. Because I think I said it on a show a couple of weeks ago or in a video. Like, I don't know how they're making that math work. Like, it's wild the fact that they're still able to do this kind of thing. And clearly, they're pushing for like, new opportunities to grow Game Pass in different ways. But they've got to make the math work. Otherwise, this whole thing, it's like one day Satya Nadella will come in and be like, we've spent how much money and we're getting what? Like, eventually you're gonna have to pay the piper. And obviously they have the money machine with Activision Blizzard and whatnot, but you've still got to make things work. So these changes are all just a part of that.
That ad tier's coming any day now, guys.
But yeah, the cloud streaming tier and then the ad tier, and
So then
then
we can have 7 tiers
yeah,
of Game
yeah.
Pass.
Yeah, and then I can add an eighth tier that rolls down my cheek whenever I try to figure all this shit
Whenever you
out.
try to talk about it in a video, you get something wrong and get made fun of in the
The
comments.
worst part is that I made a video explaining the Game Pass tiers like 3 months ago, and then they totally just derailed all of it. So I had to make another video talking about the correct version. It's like, am I just gonna have to keep doing this over the next 2 years while they keep adjusting
Yes, I
stuff?
think so. Yeah.
We just keep
Uh,
farming these views, I guess.
All right, let's talk about our last news story. Sad one here. So we got two things to talk about. Xbox has been hit with another round of layoffs. So Xbox announced today that 650 more people are out of a job, primarily at Activision Blizzard. Well, Xbox says no games will be impacted. They clearly wanted to avoid any potential social media backlash and told all their staff no posting today. We don't want another controller mishap. Um, I don't really have much to say that we haven't said before or we didn't cover months ago when they laid off almost 2,000 people. Just sucks. Like you acquired all these people, you knew their head count, you knew what you were getting, and then you're just firing almost 3,000 of them not even a year after you acquired them. Like the industry is just in a crappy place.
It is in a wild place. And I will say, too, that the first person I saw report this early this morning was Stephen Totillo. I got his email blasted like 6 a.m. But he put out an update 2 hours ago that says, in addition to the merger related cuts, a source familiar tells me Microsoft has laid off workers on its Warcraft Rumble and Call of Duty Warzone mobile teams. So then they said Warcraft Rumble is moving to post launch live ops. Warzone Mobile didn't hit as big as they hoped. Neither game is going offline. So that's really interesting for me because it seems like there were some cuts made in the mobile side of things. So maybe it's just them recalibrating to focus less on the mobile side and more on the games themselves, the money makers, effectively.
Well, that's an interesting cut to make, especially when you apparently have your own mobile app store
You would think.
coming. It was supposed to be out 2 months ago, everyone. Just a
I,
reminder.
I think I also saw. I don't want to quote this directly. I saw it floating around out there online, but and anybody can correct me in the comments or the chat if I'm wrong. But on top of this, there were also reports that said there's just confusion around Xbox's strategy around these cuts. Like everybody's tense, everybody's wondering what's happening. I think it might have been Jason Schreier that I saw tweeting about it or conversation around that. But like, do you want a mobile store? Do you not want a mobile store? Do you want to sell consoles? Do you not want to sell consoles? Do you want to be a third party publisher? Do you want exclusives? Do you, they want everything and they don't know how to get anything. Like there's literally no sense in anything that's happening right now. And you know, we always talk about how there's overlap within two giant mega corporations whenever they merge together. So you will have your HR staffs that are getting consolidated and stuff like that are just victims of the merger. And that's an unfortunate reality when it comes to consolidation. But to see reports that say it's not just that and that it is a strategic shift that doesn't seem to align with what they've been talking about further degrades the confidence that I have whenever Xbox leadership says something. Like they're always, I believe, telling the truth, but it's in a way that gives an out if things change or if strategies shift. And who knows at what level this is coming from. I think a lot of it's from above Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond and the crew that we always talk about right now as well. But those are the thoughts of a rambling Xbox Threads user.
Did you see that? I think it was Jordan Midler is speculating that Phil Spencer is getting ready to retire soon. Just like
Interesting.
talking
I did
about
not
like
see that.
some of the things he's been saying in interviews lately. He just reads it as like Phil's done, like he's on his way out.
I think it would be a very, very it will inevitably be a very interesting shift for Xbox because it feels like right now the reason Xbox is doing as well as it is feels like it's because of Phil Spencer. Now, if you ask other people within even the circles we run in, the reason Xbox is doing as poorly as it is right now is because of Phil Spencer. So it just depends on how you perceive the current Xbox status. But it would be a very, very interesting time to shake things up just because they're on the cusp of making very big changes that are going to shape the future of this company, whether it goes through the roof, stays the same, or down into the ground. They're really at a turning point whenever they figure out how they're going to make this thing make money. So if Phil chooses to dip out, he has saved the company and simultaneously set it up for a path of very, very questionable decisions coming up here in the next couple of years.
It's that SpongeBob meme where it's him and Patrick going, "We saved the city," and it's burning behind them.
Yeah, like the company is alive, but no one knows what's happening, and it's a very weird spot to be in.
Yes. Well, Xbox wasn't the only one with bad news today. Annapurna Interactive, the entirety of their staff has resigned. The indie publisher under Annapurna proper wanted to spin off into its own side entity, but was unable to come to an agreement with its parent company, leading to mass resignation. What?
Every person,
What?
everyone left.
The company doesn't exist. If you don't have any workers, the company is gone. You can't say we still Annapurna Interactive as of right now isn't a thing. Nobody's working. All the emails, all the computers are shut off. The emails are gone. What is happening? I did not expect this news. Like I know a few weeks ago we got the news that Annapurna proper invested into Alan Wake or no Control 2. And they're making Alan Wake and Control TV shows because they're part of the film and TV industry. And then Annapurna Interactive is like their games initiative, which apparently they say is going to continue. That no games will be affected. That their partners are like they're like everything's still good, and I fail to see how that possibly can be true.
That's the thing that's wild for me. So The Verge says former President Nathan Gary, Annapurna Interactive executives, and around 2 dozen staffers have resigned, Bloomberg reports. An Annapurna spokesperson told Bloomberg that existing games and projects will remain under the company. Brother, who's working on them? Who's making them? What are you talking about? What are you doing here? I mean, that's wild. That is some crazy activity to say that you still have these games, but you literally don't have developers. Like, I
Who
don't even know how you move forward from this in any kind of significant way.
who is putting out like their publishers, but like who is putting out the games? All right, like who's contacting the platform holders? Who's doing your marketing? Who's getting you on the shows? Like these are things publishers do, and they don't have staff. I don't know.
I mean, I'm just still trying to process because now I'm just poking around on IGN and stuff. And I mean, I guess you could potentially like backfill the management roles that get these games moved from point A to point B. But at the same time, these are people that have built relationships with connections at the companies you need to partner with. And those relationships aren't just rebuilt overnight. That is really, really bad look. I don't know how you move forward from this in any kind of quick way that's going to be able to make it still function through a season of like a lot of games coming out.
I just went to their website to see what upcoming games they have. So they have a game called Morsels coming in February. They have Mixtape, which has been shown off at the Xbox Showcase coming in 2025. I think that's like a Life is Strange style game. Um, what else do they have coming? Man, this website's not well set up.
It is not, no, but they've done a lot of big stuff
They've
over
done
the
a lot
past
of
couple of
they
years.
did Thirsty Suitors, they did Cocoon, which I know you like. They did Neon White, they did
Yeah.
Stray. Like this is a good publisher. They did the Artful Escape, Solar Ash. 12 minutes kind of sucks, but
Outer
uh,
Wild, that's a big one. Journey, geez.
What Remains of Edith Finch. So like they are maybe the indie publisher, and they need to sort it out fast.
Yeah, they got to figure that out. At least partner with somebody that knows what they're doing. Like build a partnership with Devolver or something.
Yeah, literally the first thing that came to mind. Like, can Devolver come help you? They know indie games too.
Yeah, whenever I see Annapurna though, I'm bummed that that talent is gone because whenever I see an Annapurna game, I always think that it's kind of like an art house thing. It's kind of like when you see Blumhouse pop up and you're like, I know what I'm getting there.
I love Blumhouse. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like with Annapurna, I was always like, Stray. That's nice. I like that kind of thing, you know. So hopefully they're able to. Actually, I don't really care if they keep going or not because the talent that made it happen's gone. So like, hopefully they figure it out. I guess I don't know what else to say. Hopefully that other team forms something that's
it
equally as
just
good and
makes a new
cool.
you makes a new publisher, and then
Yeah.
like just take your contact list, set up a new thing, everyone get working again. Just make it happen.
Yep. Yep. That's what I hope happens here because Annapurna is just a brand. The people are what make the company, and that's
Yep,
always applicable across the board.
that's right. That's right. Well, Sam, that will do it for this episode. Like I said, not much Xbox news, but some interesting things to talk about for sure. But I'm going on vacation. You're
Ooh.
going to be around making some content like you do every
Ooh.
day. Can you tell everyone where they can find that?
Yeah, you can find me at JamPackSam over on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, doing all that good stuff. The content has continued to roll. We've got a big season coming up here. We've got some good stuff coming up, and yeah, excited to keep doing more of it. But as always, most of the time anyway, unless chaotic events occur, you can always find me here chatting it up. I always have a good time with you, my friend.
Now, everyone, here's what I want you to do. Subscribe to Sam's channel if you're not. I don't know why you wouldn't be. But anytime there's like a controversial news story, just go read the comments on his shorts, and that will be a great time. All right. You'll get some
Yeah,
laughter out of it. You feel bad for him, but you'll get some laughter out of it.
yeah. If you really want to have a good time, just talk about something like Concord on TikTok, and then just set the push notifications off, and then come back in 5 hours, see what happens. It's a really great time.
Red Beast, thanks for stopping by. We are ending the show. Sam is dropping Atlas Fallen for now. For now.
I will put it on pause. I might pick it back up, but I'll be grinding some X Defiant over this weekend. But not a bad game. Maybe I'm just not into it right now. That's the plan.
Well, if you want to hear our discussion, timestamps will be right after the show. I'm going to click save. They'll be there. You can go listen. You can find me at the Muffin Mon everywhere on social media. It's a 1-7I, 0-7A. Follow us at Save Game Media. Stay up to date with all of our latest content. Until next week, we will see you. Goodbye.